D&D is so moving, but do you think there's some aspects of D&D that just might push people away?
You like your puns? Come on, man. Let's just jump into this video and talk about a push-pull character build. We're going to kind of theory craft this one out.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds.
Now let's push on ahead into this video.
So today we're talking about kind of the bully build character that can push and bully things around with the push and pull maneuvers. Not necessarily like shoving, but actual features, spells, feats, things of that nature that just gives you the ability to kind of get some battlefield control. We were doing research for a particular character build, and we just started coming across a bunch of these, and we're like, hey, I wonder if this topic is worth talking about and if people would be interested in it. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. If you want us to do a specific build where we build a character guide and do the pushing and pulling, or maybe even a character adventuring party that is the master of pulling and pushing their enemies around.
Yeah, so here we're just going to talk about all the different things that give us those set abilities. So I guess it comes down to the question of this is a very tactical thing. So like whether you're playing with a digital map or, an actual battle map on a table, you want to see these things happen. It's a lot harder to do all of this with, theater of the mind. But why are battle tactics so important?
Well, but obviously they're just built into the mechanics, right? So like if you have mechanics that allow you to push and pull things around, move things around, why wouldn't you want to use them? And, what's the point of using them if it doesn't actually do anything? So, so using them tactically is literally the only way to use them. And it is harder with theater of the mind, but there's definitely ways, through hazards, obstacles, and even spells on the battlefield that you could technically use these, whether you're using, maps or theater of the mind.
Pulling them into the hazard, pulling them out of melee with your allies, or pushing them out of melee to get your allies the ability to move without a disengage action. These are all kind of things that become seriously helpful to the party when you're playing super tactically.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a rooftop or near a cliff or a bridge, I always want to figure out how to push the enemy over, even if it doesn't like kill them or do a significant amount of damage. It might just take them out of the battle for a couple rounds while they have to figure out how to get back into the fight.
So these subclasses, class abilities, spells, it adds all of this manipulation factor into the game. As you said, like it can really greatly alter the flow of the battle as a new thing has happened. No, this person is now out of the fight. Now the entire party can concentrate on this other thing while this one winds up having to come back. It could wind up using resources, whether you're talking about a Misty Step or a Feather Fall. That's now a spell slot that the enemy has to use to not take the damage or to get back into the fight, versus using that offensively against your party. And all of this kind of boils down to the fact of this could just make it plain fun.
Yeah, it's rewarding to be able to synergize with, the landscape and what's going on, or with what other players in the game are doing.
So with all of this being said, regardless of whether you're playing digitally or whatnot, if you're going to be doing this, you know what you really need? Maps.
Maps do make it a lot more useful, and the sponsor for this video, Dungeon Fog, is a great resource for maps. Not only do they just have a bunch of maps over there you could use if you wanted to, it's map making software. It's super intuitive. It's easy to use. You can sign up for a free account and check it out. Try it, decide if you like it or not. And we even take some of these maps and throw them up over on our Patreon so our patrons can see how we're using them in our own games. There will be a link down in the description to check out Dungeon Fog.
But hey, you're looking for another way to support Nerdarchy, to keep making videos like this and the awesome articles over on nerdarchy.com, why not head over to Patreon and support us over there?
As a special reward, players and DMs alike will receive content for 5e. As we mentioned, we throw up some of our maps over there for people to download and check out, but we're doing so much more. We make magic items, spells, feats, races, subclasses, drop-in encounters, turn some of those magic items into print-and-play spell cards. You even get a chance to game with Nerdarchy, and we even have a free Patreon sample you can download and check out and see what the rewards look like down in the description below. You can find the link also probably in one of these cards up here as well.
So without further ado, let's dive into the classes and subclass abilities that, these things offer. And first off, we're going to go in alphabetical order. Artificer is going to get access to spells. So things like Thunder Wave or Thorn Whip are going to be, very helpful. That's both a push and a pull. But Artificer also going to get access to infusions. At second level, you can get Repulsor Shield. Pretty nice.
Yeah, Repulsor Shield, you get attacked as a reaction. You get to use that reaction to push them back. So, again, you could push them into their enemies. You can push them over a cliff, push them into a hazard, all that fun stuff. Next up, we have the Barbarian. And you know what? Actually, Barbarian gives you nothing other than being good at shoving. But, that's a whole different topic.
So bards, they are a full spellcaster, so they're going to get access to a wide array of spells that are going to give you the push-pull ability. You're also going to be able to take magical secrets at a variety of levels that can get you access to spells outside of their normal spell selection.
Next up is Clerics, again, spellcaster. So, for mentioned spells we've mentioned before, but the Tempest Cleric at 6th level gets Thunderbolt Strike, and basically when they do thunder or lightning damage, they can push a large or smaller creature up to 10 feet away.
The Druid is another spellcaster here. First and foremost, that previously mentioned Thorn Whip and Thunder Wave, that happens to be both on their spell list. So these guys are prime targets for being able to kind of grab those early spells for manipulation.
Not surprising, someone who gets to manipulate the battlefield a lot is the fighter. They fight. It's what they do. Right off the bat, you have Battle Master. At 3rd level, you start getting those battle maneuvers, and you actually have Pushing Maneuver, which pushes someone up to 15 feet per battle maneuver you use.
So you could really do some massive manipulation with that one. The Eldritch Knight at 3rd level is going to get access to spells. I know Thunder Wave is absolutely on their list, so really useful to grab that one.
Gunslinger is a lot like the Battle Master. They have maneuvers that are similar.
Psy Warrior at 7th level is going to get access to Telekinetic Thrust, and that's the ability to just push them 10 feet.
Yeah, when you use your Psionic die to do extra damage, you also get a push as well. Super nice.
All right, we're looking at Monk, and the first one is going to be the 4 Elements Monk, and I know there's probably a lot of hate out there for that one, but they're pretty cool, and they're going to be really good at this particular mechanic. First off, they've got Fist of the 4 Thunders, which I've said Thunder Wave a lot, but it basically replicates that. You've got Fist of Unbroken Air, which creates a line, which is going to be able to, if they fail their save, push them 20 feet. We happen to see that a lot in the game that we're playing at our table, as well as Water Whip. That's going to be a pull, and that can get 25 feet.
Next up, we have Wave the Open Hand, and their open hand techniques. Actually, one of them is a shove, a push.
So next up, we're looking at Paladin, and this one, while Paladins are spellcasters, there's a handful of spells that are on their list that, can give you some of these actions. But what we're really looking at is the Oath of the Sea, their Channel Divinity, Fury of the Tides. They can activate that, and then with their Channel Divinity, and for the next minute, when they make an attack, I believe it's once a turn, they get a push 10 feet.
Yeah, it's once a turn or once an attack. Not entirely sure, but either way, they're pushing people around. Next up is Rangers. Rangers are half-casters, so they're going to get spells. And right at 3rd level, Swarm Keeper gets Gathering Swarm, and they can actually move something around 15 feet horizontally, so they can actually go in any direction per attack. So they're going to be able to push things around a lot.
Next up, we have Rogue, and while they are the master of dealing damage with their sneak attack, they're really not the best at actually doing those things for, battlefield manipulation. So they actually got nothing. Sorcerer, as full spellcasters, they got access to a variety of spells. Whether you're looking at, Bigby's Hand or Thunder Wave or any of these other kind of things, they got a lot of choice.
We also have Warlocks, see spells, but also they've got invocations that alter their Eldritch Blast. They can do Repelling Blast, which every time they hit, it's a push. Or they can do Grasp of Hadar, which is actually a pull. I think Wizards of the Coast learned their lesson from Repelling Blast because you only could do that one once per turn. That would be a lot of fun if once per Eldritch Blast they could pull something.
So now, what if you had somebody that was like on one side of, like, say, a wall of fire? Could you cast in, and you happen to have like three blasts? Could you push, with repelling, Grasp of Hadar, pull them back, and then push them through?
I would say absolutely. And then it just depends on the wording of the spell. If it's like at the start of your turn, or every time you enter, depending on that might change it as well.
Yeah. So
But yeah, or like Cloud of Daggers might work that way as well. You could do some vile things.
yeah. So again, you got to look at how evil you want to kind of be with these things. So pretty nasty. So next up, we're looking at Wizard, and again, see that whole sidebar of their full spellcasters. But we're also looking at Graviturgy Magic Gravity Well at 6th level. When you cast a spell, you've got the ability to move them 5 feet in a direction.
Next up is Feats, and we have a bunch. And we're going to start off with one of my favorite weapon feats, Crusher. When using a bludgeoning weapon, once per turn, you can move someone 5 feet back.
All right, so we're going to move on, and we're going to go into magic direction. So you've got Magic Initiate, you've got Artificer Adept, and you've got the Aberrant Dragon Mark. All of them are going to give you access to spells. And again, see that aforementioned Thunder Wave and Thorn Whip. They're both really great manipulation spells, and you can be able to grab them with some of those feats.
You also have Eldritch Adept, which basically gives you access to Warlock invocations. So you can get those invocations that Eldritch Blast. If you use one of those other feats in order to get access to Eldritch Blast, you can use it. Or if you happen to have it for some other reason, you can then modify it and make it better.
Martial Adept, we already mentioned how great the Battlemaster maneuvers are. This is going to give you access to a die and maneuvers, so you can be able to use it a little bit.
Also, we have Shield Master. Now, essentially, this just lets you make a shove attack as a bonus action, which is a push. We aren't really dealing with it too much, but because you get to do it as a bonus action, I felt it was worth mentioning.
Spell Sniper is another one that kind of falls into that, that magic direction. It's going to give you access to, those low-level spells. So very, very useful, pretty helpful in this situation.
One of my new favorite feats is Telekinetic, and basically as a bonus action, you just push somebody up to 30 feet away, 5 foot. It's the Jedi Force push, essentially. It's super cool.
Just a little one.
And it gives you some other things, and it's a half feet, but it's super cool.
All right, so there's a lot of really great ththings to use. I really like this idea of either making an entire party that is the masters of manipulating the battlefield, just because, to me, I've always loved, or at least, since I started using battle maps, of having these things that really can make the game a little bit more, tactically sound and a little bit more fun. And, there's so many rules that we just kind of went through, and, not all of them even in depth, that give you these kinds of abilities. So, that's only looking at it from the player side. There's monsters that fall into, these kinds of things. And everything that players do, you can always put in, a monster or an NPC that can do those things too.
Really, and I feel like between 3rd and 7th level is a sweet spot where you're getting a lot of these abilities that you can kind of stack together. So you could have a party that would really just make your monsters dizzy with all the pushing and pulling, you could do. And then when you combine them with other spell effects or something and hazards that they could create on the battlefield, because even if your DM doesn't put that stuff on there, we've mentioned the different wall spells, Cloud of Daggers, Flame Sphere. There's a bunch of spells that you could use to put out there, and they just become a hazard. And then the rest of the party can just keep shoving and pulling the enemies into them.
Spirit Guardians, is another one that's a favorite of mine. And that limits them, in a variety of different ways. So you could have what targets will, what targets dexterity, what targets, this, what targets that. So if you build all of these things together, you can make this master manipulation party and really, have a lot of fun with it.
Let us know down in the comments. Do you want us to do a party that is the bully party or the bully character? We're curious for you to tell us stories of how you've bullied the enemies on the battlefield in your D&D games. Share with the Nerdarchy community in the comments.
While you're down there, don't forget to do all those cool things like, share, subscribe, even go ahead and push that notification bell.
Just a quick reminder, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we drop new videos on the channel. Come on back. Can't wait till then. No problem. We got you covered. Up here, you can find the D&D Master of Disguise Theorycraft Guide video.
So until next time, stay nerdy.